Hey, I'm Adam Post, creator of College of the Dead, the ongoing zombie apocalypse graphic novel series. College of the Dead, this is the sketchbook edition. And today I wanted to talk about Kevin Feige's promotion and how it's going to affect Marvel Comics and the Marvel movies and the Marvel films. A number of my friends asked me about this. And, look, so here's what the bottom line is. It means that Kevin Feige is going to have a longer relationship with Disney and the Marvel property. He's not going anywhere unless he absolutely destroys the Marvel property somehow with this new social justice warrior stuff he's doing. Um, and that's possible, such as Kathleen Kennedy, even though she's still at Star Wars and she's destroying the enthusiasm and the backing of the Star Wars franchise, the interest in the franchise, and weakening it tremendously. If he manages to do that, if he destroys it, if he destroys Marvel, he'll leave and they'll reshuffle. But this is a consolidation of power. They need a point person there. Bob Iger is not going to be at Disney forever. He just wrote a biography recently, Bob Iger, an autobiography. So they need to figure out who's going to control Marvel and be responsible for all the properties. There's always been a back and forth, a tug of war between Ike Perlmutter, who is the guy who saved Marvel when it went bankrupt, and Kevin Feige. They would go back and forth on budget, on movies, and all sorts of things like what are they going to do with the properties, what kind of characters should they convert to movies. And Ike has started his relationship with Marvel with a company called Toy Biz that licensed Marvel toys. There's a long history there, but suffice it to say, Ike knows what sells. He's very commercial. He's not trying to save the world with social justice. Ike is concerned about, all right, what is marketable, what is not marketable. And Ike's instincts for that is why he wound up owning Marvel, or a very large piece of it, along with Avi Arad. But still, Ike was the man who made the decisions about what was selling and what wasn't selling and how to sell stuff. Ike is an incredible salesperson, and that's what he's all about. That said, though, he's such a good salesperson. He sold Marvel to Disney, and he wound up getting, I believe, about $800 million in stock in Disney and $500 million personally for himself. The whole company was sold for a little bit more than $4 billion in a steal to Disney. But from Ike's standpoint, he got out of risk, so that was worth it for him. So what this means is Ike is going to definitely have less influence. This article in IndieWire, is a good example of it, and it's necessary for Ike to have less influence. I would rather Ike was running Disney, the entire company. We'd have a whole different Disney. However, he sold Marvel, so when you sell, it's gone. If you hold on to something and say, "Hey, I ain't selling it," you have control over it. But when you say, "Give me the money," you can have a stake in Disney and leverage and be tough and all that. But the bottom line, Ike is not in control of Marvel Comics. He's going to have less control over what movies are made and how things are done. In terms of a corporate structure, this makes sense. Marvel has tremendous things to do and integrate and deal with, from storylines to TV shows to the comics to movies, movies that they might make like just for the new Disney Plus platform, international offerings. In addition to coordinating merchandising, you really can't be having creative conversations with multiple people in multiple geographies to say, well, what do you think of this new project we're going to do as a film? It really is too complicated. The entire Marvel structure is probably too complicated, but this will simplify it. As far as how this impacts Joe Quesada, it means Joe Quesada's services are no longer needed. They'll give him something to do. So Joe Quesada is not going to be the chief creative officer anymore. And whether they ever needed him to do that in the first place, maybe it was just to blunt Ike Perlmutter's influence over the company. I wouldn't doubt if that was a purpose, but in this case, it's to consolidate power. This is what they need to do to run their business. It's like you have to have a head chef when you run a restaurant. You can't just have 5 chefs that are all equal and everybody's arguing over what to do. Hopefully, Kevin Feige's instincts of what he's learned from Ike Perlmutter in terms of how to merchandise and sell things, and what is marketable and what's not marketable in Disney. Hopefully, he'll know what to do. If not, he'll destroy the franchise and it'll be reborn because there are millions of people and more that are going to be aware of it. So, that's the future of it. If Ike wanted to have control over it, and I wish he would have, he should have never sold to Disney. He was doing very well. He didn't need the money, but he wanted to consolidate his personal ownership. And I'm sure he has some other reasons for it. I don't know Ike Perlmutter. I don't return any of his calls. No, we don't know each other. But that said, yeah, you need to kind of consolidate power. This is how you consolidate power. They have lots of far-flung operations. And what's more is they're still trying to integrate whatever they can use from Fox, although, some of their social justice producers have already said that X-Men is an outdated title because it uses the word men. We'll see what happens with this property. We'll see what happens with all their properties. That said, independent creators need to make their own properties and don't sell them right away, especially if you don't need the money. Why would Ike Perlmutter sell Marvel when he didn't really need the money? And there are other ways of reducing your risk. He had a Marvel was a public company at the time. It had gotten past all the bankruptcy stuff. They saved it. They had control over it. Sony had already bought Spider-Man away from them, and there was already the Fox deal. There were a couple of those, you call them legacy deals, established deals that couldn't be changed. But they didn't need to sell it. What do? You're an old man. You make you have all these cool properties. You're a part of American history in the American art form of the comic book and Spider-Man and all this influence for young people. And I'd like to think if it was me, I would take my $800 million. Ike was already worth $1 billion or so at the time, and say, hey, that's enough money. Anyway, such is history. But support independent creators. Support people who are making new stories that aren't part of this mainstream propaganda stuff. You can do it. You're making a difference when you do it. And speaking of supporting, let's talk about College of the Dead because it ships now. 2 weeks, anywhere at your door. It's in print. It's ready to go. I don't care what planet you're on. It could be on Mars. We ship to Mars all the time. Well, we don't really ship to Mars. We don't ship to the underground hollow Earth. It's not allowed. But we will send them to Australia, which is sort of near hollow Earth. And Antarctica, I believe we also, I don't know about Antarctica to be honest with you, but every normal country and continent, no hidden continents, don't put that in there, but every normal continent in the world, yes, we're shipping there, okay? So you can place an order. The United States is fine too, if you're normal like me, you live in the US, and you'll get your book. And here's more about the books themselves.
Hey, I'm Adam Post, creator of the College of the Dead graphic novel comic book series. Take a look at the printed prototype. This is what the book's going to look like. And we've got the 100-page ashcan book of College of the Dead. This shows how we made the book. It's got all the script and layouts. It's really, really educational, and it's really great behind-the-scenes stuff. And we have the art book, which is an 8.5 by 8.5 black and white book. It's all the art without any lettering. A really terrific book, too.
The way you can get College of the Dead is to go to collegeofthedead.com. It'll bring you right to the Indiegogo page where you can buy the book. You can check it out. You can see the first 12 pages of sequential art. I think you're going to love the story. I know you're going to like the comic. You will love it.
collegeofthedead.com.